The conversation around the internet computer is shifting again. For months, the project has been building quietly while the rest of the market chased quick trends. Now, the spotlight is coming back, and a big question is floating around. Can ICP actually hit $100 in 2025? It's a bold target, but it's not as simple as looking at a chart and guessing. This story goes deeper. It's about technology, momentum, market cycles, and the changing priorities inside crypto. Before anyone dismisses the idea or gets carried away, it's worth taking a closer look at what's happening behind the scenes, because the next year has the potential to reshape ICP's position in a way the market hasn't fully priced in yet. Let's break it down. This video is created for educational and informational purposes only. It does not promote or endorse any financial product, investment, or cryptocurrency. All information presented here is based on publicly available sources and independent analysis. Viewers are encouraged to conduct their own research before making any financial or technological decisions. The past few years have reshaped the crypto market in ways almost no one predicted. Narratives rose and collapsed. Entire ecosystems hit their peak only to struggle with relevance a few months later. At the same time, new technologies earned attention not through hype, but through concrete progress. The internet computer sits firmly in that second category. It doesn't behave like other chains. It doesn't follow the usual cycles of speculation. It advances slowly, steadily, and often away from the spotlight. But now, questions are building again, and one of them won't go away. Can ICP reach $100 in 2025? This question is less about price and more about understanding how the crypto world is shifting. Many investors treat crypto like a casino. They look at charts and sentiment and assume price patterns repeat every cycle. But the internet computer forces a deeper analysis. Price targets mean very little unless you understand what drives this project. And to unpack that properly, you have to look into the technology, the ecosystem, the market psychology, and the macro conditions that shape crypto's direction. The idea of $100 sounds ambitious. It triggers reactions on both sides. Some supporters believe the internet computer is severely undervalued and that triple-digit prices are only a matter of time. Others argue that reaching that level requires extraordinary conditions the market may not deliver. The truth sits somewhere in between. Reaching $100 is possible, but it demands clarity on the forces capable of pushing ICP there, and just as importantly, the pitfalls that could slow it down. Let's start with the fundamentals. The internet computer is not a typical blockchain. It wasn't designed to be a faster Ethereum, a cheaper L1, or a new wave meme ecosystem. Its architecture is unique enough that comparing it to Solana, Avalanche, or even Cosmos doesn't tell the full story. Those chains rely heavily on external cloud infrastructure and off-chain systems. The internet computer replaces all of that with its own globally distributed, tamper-proof compute layer. Smart contracts run entirely on-chain, including storage, logic, data, media, and even front-end. This architecture allows the internet computer to function like a full-stack decentralized cloud system rather than a smart contract engine. That distinction matters because it shapes long-term value. A chain that behaves like traditional infrastructure inherits constraints from that design. But a chain built like the internet computer operates with different possibilities. It can support decentralized social platforms, on-chain AI, scalable data hosting, enterprise-grade applications, and even cross-chain control using cryptographic signatures. Those capabilities are rare in crypto, but fundamentals alone don't determine prices. Markets respond to adoption, perception, and timing. The internet computer made huge technological progress in the past year. Chain fusion, multi-chain integrations, the emergence of AIS, improved governance tools, younger teams joining the ecosystem, and data storage expansions. Yet these developments didn't directly translate into a significant price surge. That disconnect often confuses people who expect markets to reward innovation instantly. Crypto doesn't work that way. Price action follows catalysts, not engineering milestones, and that's where the road to $100 begins. To understand ICP's potential for 2025, you need to examine the broader market conditions. Bitcoin halving cycles still influence liquidity and sentiment. In every cycle, capital flows from Bitcoin into large caps, then mid caps, then speculative assets. This flow typically benefits ecosystems with strong narratives. In 2021, the dominant narratives were DeFi, NFTs, and metaverse projects. In 2025, the key narratives are shifting toward AI, data infrastructure, real-world assets, interoperability, and cloud replacement technologies. The Internet computer sits at the intersection of several of these themes. Its on-chain AI capabilities are attracting attention from developers who want AI agents that live natively on a blockchain instead of relying on centralized APIs. That alone gives ICP an advantage in a sector likely to grow rapidly next year. Meanwhile, its decentralized cloud approach aligns perfectly with the rising demand for platforms that reduce reliance on Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. So where does the $100 target enter the picture? It starts with simple math. To reach $100, ICP needs a market cap of around $45 billion. That number sounds large, but not unheard of. Many projects reach that valuation during peak cycles, even without significant real-world utility. Solana crossed it, Cardano crossed it, XRP has crossed it many times. Even meme assets with no functional use have touched valuations above that level. The question isn't whether a $45 billion valuation is unrealistic. The question is whether the Internet computer can reach that valuation in a sustainable way. And that depends on four major factors: adoption, liquidity, narrative strength, and supply dynamics. Let's break down adoption first. The Internet computer has been gaining traction in several areas. Decentralized social platforms built entirely on-chain are growing. On-chain AI projects are experimenting with agents that run and update themselves directly inside canisters. Multi-chain tools built using chain fusion are opening new possibilities for cross-chain control. And enterprise teams are exploring ways to use the network for high-density storage and computation. These aren't theoretical ideas. They're real use cases already in progress. And adoption at the application layer has always been the biggest hurdle for blockchains trying to build a long-term value story. If adoption grows steadily in 2025, it becomes one of the strongest drivers for a higher ICP price. The second factor is liquidity. This is the part most people overlook. Prices move not only because of fundamentals, but because of available capital. With institutional interest returning to crypto and spot ETFs drawing billions into the market, liquidity is expanding. This rising tide can lift many assets, including ICP, especially if it aligns with strong narrative exposure. Liquidity doesn't care about personal opinions. It follows opportunity and momentum. The third factor is narrative strength. Narratives in crypto are powerful because they direct where attention goes. AI is the dominant theme for this cycle. Most chains don't actually support real on-chain AI. Many of them depend entirely on centralized inference systems. The Internet computer stands out because it can host AI models inside canisters, allowing them to run with verifiable logic. That is a utility most chains cannot replicate. The strength of the AI narrative could put ICP in the spotlight, especially when developers are looking for platforms that allow on-chain autonomy instead of centralized gateways. If this narrative builds the same way the Solana narrative did in the previous cycle, the price impact could be significant. The fourth factor is supply dynamics. ICP's token supply structure is complex, but the most important trend is the declining inflation rate over time. There is very little new supply entering the market now compared to the early days. At the same time, more tokens are locked inside governance through neuron staking, which reduces circulating supply. Lower float with rising demand naturally supports higher valuations. Put all these factors together: adoption, liquidity, narrative strength, and supply, and the possibility of $100 becomes reasonable. But there are challenges that can slow momentum. Understanding these barriers is just as important as analyzing the positives. The biggest challenge is perception. Many investors still remember ICP's launch and the price drop that followed. They carry that memory forward and assume the project cannot recover. That perception is slowly shifting, but it takes time. Until large numbers of new users discover the technology for themselves, old narratives may continue to influence sentiment. Another challenge is competition. Solana is strong. Ethereum remains the dominant smart contract platform. Other chains are positioning themselves aggressively in the AI and interoperability sectors. The Internet computer has a technological edge, but marketing, community activity, and exposure also matter. Projects with weaker tech but stronger marketing often outperform in price action. Ecosystem size is another important challenge. While the Internet computer has many promising applications, the number of massive mainstream projects is still small. For ICP to hit $100, the ecosystem needs more breakout applications that attract daily users, not just crypto communities. Despite these challenges, the outlook for 2025 remains balanced in a positive way. The Internet computer has matured. The noise around it has faded. What remains is a project that continues to deliver innovation without relying on hype. It is one of the few chains building toward a future where the Internet itself becomes decentralized at the infrastructure level. This vision is far bigger than a price target. But price is still important for investors trying to measure potential. So let's return to the central question. Is $100 achievable in 2025? The realistic answer is yes, but it depends on timing and alignment of catalysts. If Bitcoin enters a strong post-halving rally and liquidity spreads across the market, the Internet computer is positioned well enough to benefit. If the AI narrative strengthens, ICP becomes a natural candidate for attention. If adoption continues to grow, it provides the fundamental support needed for a sustained price move. Under the right conditions, a run toward $100 is possible. Not guaranteed, not promised, but possible. Even a move toward $70 or $80 would signal major confidence returning to the ecosystem. The important thing to understand is that ICP does not need miracles. It needs exposure. It needs adoption. It needs recognition for the capabilities it already has. Investors often chase quick gains. They jump from one narrative to another. But long-term value comes from technologies that outlast market cycles. The Internet computer is that kind of project. It doesn't rely on luck or hype. It relies on engineering. And when markets eventually catch up to that reality, the price will reflect it. The next 12 months will shape the direction. Developers are building more aggressively. On-chain AI tools are improving. SNS governance systems are maturing. Cross-chain integrations are becoming smoother. Storage scalability is increasing. These aren't slogans. They're real updates. If these trends accelerate, the foundation for a much larger valuation is already in place. So, when looking toward 2025, think of $100 not as a fantasy, but as a milestone that could be reached if the ecosystem grows at the current pace and the market environment turns supportive. And even if the price doesn't reach that level next year, the long-term potential remains strong. The biggest gains in crypto often come from projects that survive difficult periods and emerge stronger. The Internet computer is showing signs of exactly that kind of resilience. Its progress is measurable, its vision is consistent, and its community is becoming more focused. The question now isn't whether ICP will reach $100 someday. The question is whether the market is ready to recognize the value of a chain that does what most chains only claim to do. With the right momentum, the right narrative, and continued delivery from developers, 2025 could be the year ICP steps into a new phase of recognition. $100 is ambitious, but it's not unrealistic. And as the months unfold, every new update, every new partnership, and every new milestone brings that target closer to reality. The coming cycle will test every major blockchain. Some will rise, some will fade. But the projects built on real technology, real scalability, and real decentralization stand the best chance of breaking through. The Internet computer fits that category, and that's why its journey toward $100 is worth paying attention to. All right, if you learned something new or enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss future updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.